Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Before we get started with the show, I have a question for you. Are you a busy solopreneur struggling to find the time to consistently post to your social accounts? Well, the Scrivener Solutions team and I are introducing Scrivener Social, the easy-to-use social media scheduling platform paired with all of our workflows. It simplifies the entire posting process, saving you time and boosting your social media marketing efforts. Here's how it works. First, you subscribe to Scrivener Social, choosing the support level that best fits your needs. Second, we have onboarding calls to help you set up your account and give you the guidance for streamlining your posting process. Third, you implement your plan using our workflows to get more out of your social media marketing. Now, you could continue to do it alone, being frustrated and feeling guilty that you never get around to posting to your social accounts for your small business. Or you could save time, energy, and frustration by using an easy-to-use social scheduling platform backed by a support team that helps you streamline the whole process. You deserve a system that makes posting to your social media faster and more efficient. Go to scrivenersocial.com and subscribe today. Now, on to the show. Hi there, and welcome to the show, where we explore ideas and topics to help you create your lifestyle to live full and work fun. I am Gayla Scrivener, co-hosted with Fran Groesbeck. Hi, Fran.
Hey, Gayla.
We are at the midst of year end, and there is a lot of buzz about New Year's resolutions and goal setting and getting ready for, we're ending Q4 and we're revving up for Q1, all the things, right? And as an entrepreneur, sometimes I'm sitting here looking back and it's like, man, I kind of didn't get all the goals that I wanted done for 2023. And maybe I fell short. And then I was like, oh, this one really fell off the radar. Or, I'm not saying that I didn't accomplish anything in 2023. There was a lot accomplished, but I wanted to do all the things, all of them. And I don't think I was realistic with myself when setting my goals. And I think I'm chronic in this respect. I think for years, I might bite off more than I can chew. And then you mentioned something to me recently about the law of 100%.
Yes.
Maybe this is putting things into perspective for me.
Oh, it is one of the greatest lessons I was ever taught. I'm going to give a big shout out to Mike Miller, a former colleague of mine who taught me this. And Mike was one of the most brilliant minds I ever met and taught me a lot about the specific industry I was in. But he once said this law of the 100%, and it stuck with me. And it's been with me now 30 years. That's how long he taught me. Picture an 8-ounce glass. And if you take that 8-ounce glass and you put 4 ounces of water in and 2 ounces of something else in, you can't put another 4 ounces in. It'll spill over. The law of 100% is that if you want to, there's only so much space, and we'll get to it, time. So if you want to put something in, you have to take something out. I've always loved this analogy in product. You can't make a product be everything. So if you put something in to make a product have a certain feature, something has to be taken out. What has hit me and I developed with my coaching, this also applies to time. Time is the one thing that is limited. There is a certain amount each day. You cannot create more, no matter how we try. multitasking is a fairy tale. And in each day, there's only so much time. And when you there's some simple mistakes people make in planning out their calendars and their time, and it forces them into missing landmarks in hitting their goals because they didn't properly account for little things that they usually overlook. When we do this exercise, I often see travel time for small errands and such a big oversight in people's calendars, not accounting for follow-up, following a phone call or a Zoom meeting, or even a meeting overall. So there's these little time traps that you have to be careful of. And you have to look at time like that and each day like that 8-ounce glass. There's only 8-ounce capacity in there. What am I going to do with it? And if you're going to put something else in, something else has to come out. So that's what the law of 100% is. It's about being realistic with what you have time-wise. It could also be energy-wise. It could be financial. It could be product. It could be services. It could be a lot of things. But actually services is a great example. We all want to do more as entrepreneurs and business owners. But if adding that new service is going to require more people, more time, do you have it? Is that realistic? Will that take time and resources away from something you're already doing? And will you still be able to do it as well as you're currently doing? This law of 100% can be applied to just about anything.
And for practicality, what kind of tools? I mean, we're talking about time. I mean, time is not like, okay, your example was a glass, 8-ounce glass, because once you reach 8 ounces, anything above 8 ounces, it's going to be a mess. So I had this visual. It's like, yeah, when I overextend myself, things are a mess, right? And it just it seems more chaotic and just messy. But then you think of a balloon and it expands. Time is definitely not like a balloon. Life is not like a balloon that you can always take on more, take on more, take on more. But with a balloon, there's only so much that can take before it pops. So that's kind of a dramatic type of visual, because the more that we take on, the more that maybe we would just break, right? And we need to learn to prioritize or say no or divert things. Not everything has to be done right now. So do you have any advice on getting real with ourselves on that? You had the example of travel time. Account for travel time.
There are some real simple tools you can use. Travel ones I'll give you is a great example. When we call it the time map. I don't call it a calendar. I call it a time map, because the map gives you the directions in the path to get to a destination, and we make a time map to get to the goals that we're setting. When we look at someone's calendar, while they may have in there something like picking up a child from school or running an errand or going to the gym, they don't have the travel time in and accounted for to get to and from those places. Or if they do, most of the time it's not realistic. Like to put 10 minutes in for something in the middle of rush hour that's normally a 15-minute drive, that's not true blocking of time. And what happens is if you start your day with that, where you don't have it properly planned, the rest of the day it's like a domino effect. That glass just is spilling over by noon. And you wonder why you're not getting to what you're getting to. So when we time map, it's being realistic is really hard. I mean, it's the most important thing you can do is really look when you put something in your calendar. Is there something that needs to happen before or after it, whether it be travel time or setting 15 minutes? A great practice we do is if we think we block an hour for the call, but we actually book the call for 45 minutes, so it allows 15 minutes to follow up or catch your breath after the call if it's a big call.
Oh my goodness. Even, what is it called now? A bio break. You need a bio break.
Just get up and move around. But Interesting you say that, Gayla. And this goes back to what we've talked about many times about breaking the corporate mindset. Do not be afraid or feel guilty of white space in your calendar. It's okay. The world will not end. Business will not end. It's okay. Every minute of every day does not have to have a block in it. And having those blocks, open spaces, extra 30 minutes, extra hour here and there will allow you to take in and fit in things that might pop up. So it is important to not plan every week so back to back and have some white space in there.
But you're going to have to let go of some things. And I had been guilty about it for a long time. I only put on my calendar when I had appointments with other people, but I was not good at putting appointments down for things that were really important to achieve the end goal. Because usually our goals is not something that will happen in 10 minutes, right? No. It will take time and repetition to get to the end goal. And we figure out that it's like, oh, even if I have this repetition, it's taken me a lot longer. I know people that are like, yeah, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book and I'm going to do it. I'll get it done by next month. All right. What kind of book are you talking about? Are you going to be writing it 24/7? And we don't think it's like, oh yeah, this is not going to take very long. I've got it all at the tip of my tongue. I can just, even dictate this book and it'll be done in, a couple of days. And then just editing, things like that. You and I both know that writing a book, a quality book, is a big, big process. And seasoned authors have the repetition of their writing time, and it is a habit that they do so that they can fulfill that goal. And it takes months for them to do that, but they actually have the appointment with themselves, and they keep the appointment with themselves a majority of the time, right?
Yeah. And you have to set realistic goals. You also have to know I laugh, as you said, the one about the book, because I have a friend who's an author who just published her book and it took her 10 years. And she's a writer. She's a writer. And it took her to do this book. So I laugh because there are a lot of people right now who talk about writing a book, and we don't always fully understand what it takes to accomplish something. I am not discouraging anyone from writing a book, but where this is headed is know what the real first step is and know all the steps in between. We were talking before about to understand a goal, and then you have to know the first step. I use the analogy I read in a book recently about hanging a shelf in your office. What's the first step? And a lot of people think, well, I got to buy the shelf, or I got to clear the wall. I got to measure the wall. You're getting closer if you've gotten there. But the real first step is finding the measuring tape. And you find the measuring tape to measure the wall. And once you measure the wall and you know the space you're dealing with, now that narrows the options and the tasks. And now you're only searching for shelves of a certain size. And then once you buy this shelf, it's just everything from knowing that first step and that first goal. Now you can map your time better. And when you look at your goals and set these realistic goals, make sure you're not filling your time map and your calendar. I'll call it a calendar right now. Make sure you're not filling your calendar with only one. Don't make your calendar only about your professional goals or only about your personal goals. You should have one calendar that represents your life and has all of it on there: family, personal, professional. This way, and it sounds tedious, and it's really not. Once you get into a rhythm with this, it's one of the best things you can do for yourself. I've even, my daughters who are 18 and 21 have even recently said, and they use they have planners and they do this. It makes a big difference. And you feel empowered because now all of a sudden, you know how much time you have to deal with. You know all the things you have to get done. You set your to-do lists. And whether that's just in your head, everybody's different, or you write it down. Now, every day, you take a little chunk out of the task and you're moving forward. the most rewarding feeling, instead of feeling like that water overflowing out of the glass and you can't stop it because it just won't stop. Those goals and knowing what they are is really the first step to that time map. Make sure that if you want to go to the gym or take a walk or do yoga or read a book or paint or I don't know, anything, or go watch Monday Night Football somewhere, make sure it's all on there as well. And then when you look at them at the calendar, is it in balance? That's one great tool to see, is that life work balance. And there, some weeks, some days it'll be different, but is it overall where you want it to be?
And for those of you that are listening, and if you are wanting to transition out of, a traditional job and you're doing a side hustle, and you evaluate, so you have the structure of going into work and doing what you need to do. But what do you need to say no to in order to say yes to your side gig if you want to make it happen? Similarly, if you've already started a business, and I find this because I tend to want to serve other people before I will work on my own business. And there's goals that I want to do, and additional offerings or different offerings of how I want the business to grow in a certain way. But I tend to fill my time with the client work. What do I need to say no to in order to say yes to be working on this business development piece? Otherwise, launching a new offering just gets delayed because, in my case, I'm helping my other clients launch their products. But that brings me joy. I love to see my clients succeed, but I also know in order for more people to succeed, and I can help more people if I get this thing done. So what is it that I take away? And so we have to think about it as like, well, in the case of a side hustle, you've got your day job, and maybe you've got family, but then maybe instead of watching TV or binging on Netflix or doing whatever, maybe it's an hour of doing whatever business that you wanted to start. Maybe you start a blog, that you commit that appointment to yourself, but you're going to have to take something away. What is it that could be the low-hanging fruit of, is this really important? Yeah, I need to decompress sometimes, but do I need 3 hours of TV decompressing? Maybe I can just need 2, or maybe I need to be listening to audiobooks while I walk, or whatever. Just something different, but being real with our schedules to know what is being taken away. And I remember, thought just came to me. I remember years ago that I was working a full-time job, going back to school, and I was a single mom. And what I chose to do was I stopped paying for cable, because way back then, my daughter was young and all of this stuff. I stopped paying for cable. I didn't have TV. So how do you entertain a child and stuff like that? Because I know TV. We had videos, we had a DVD type thing. But when she went to bed, I had no TV. I didn't watch TV. And I had I grew the habit of TV not being important to me, so that I could study, so that I could be with my daughter. And that was something to give up. So is there something that you can give up that doesn't distract you from what you really wanted to do?
When you know when you have those goals, know what your schedule looks like, and you see something doesn't fit that you really is going to move you towards your goals, like this. No calendar is locked in stone. Certain appointments are, but that's
certain. Right.
You do exactly what you're saying. Is this really how I want to spend my time? Everything in moderation. There's nothing wrong with watching Netflix. There's nothing wrong with social media. There's nothing wrong with
There's
playing
nothing.
on your phone. but all in moderation. If, like you said, a great test we do as an exercise with clients is have them go to their settings in their phone. Now, I'm an Android user, so I only know where that is, but you can Google how to do it on an Apple. But you can look at your statistics on how many hours, whether week or the month on each application. It is eye-opening to some people
It
how
is.
much they spend in different apps. And it really makes you think, is that where I want my time? Again, nothing wrong with anything as long as it's in moderation. And if it's moving you towards your goal, that's also great. I love what you said about walking and listening to audiobooks. That's the kind of multitasking we should be doing. You shouldn't be trying to do two projects at once. You shouldn't be trying to answer two emails at once and have three things open on your computer. But that's the kind of multitasking you could do, or driving in your car and listening to an audiobook, or especially if you're doing a lot of commuting, voice recording, especially if you are creating a side hustle and you're starting to think of all the ideas and your mission, vision, and values, or your purpose, promise, and principles, whichever one you want to do, you can just do these voice texts or voice recordings in the car to
And
capture these thoughts and ideas.
And with all of the text to or talk to text technology, it could be your notes are written out. And most of our phones have that technology, but maybe you're using your phone as, I think the old term is dictaphone. I worked with doctors, and that's what we had. We had the dictation. Uh, but our phones do that. Maybe you have a recording and you need it translated into print. Well, a great tool that I use all the time is a tool called Temi, Temi, and it's a talk to text translation. It's very, very reasonable. And I tell you what, it gets the transcript of your audio or video down, and it saves a huge amount of time to get those thoughts down if you need to pull paragraphs out into a blog post or into a book or into something else. And when we're thinking about what are we going to give up in the respect of, if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, maybe it's something that you need to delegate, that you need to invest in someone else to take some things off of your plate so that you can do the business development that you need to reach the goals. Because we all grow up and evolve in our business, and we may start out as doing everything, but then as our business grows, we must grow as people. Well, actually, in life, we all must grow. I mean, if we don't grow and evolve as a person, my goodness. I know I know somebody like that, and he drives me nuts. He is the same person and the same, uh I don't know, I think of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, and just like this melancholy type person. And it's like, where's your initiative to just evolve as a person and have experience life and have different perspectives and different opinions and different experiences, instead of just, I don't know. I Poor guy. I mean, he's the nicest guy ever, but he drives me nuts.
We we should always be learning and looking of ways to do things different and growing. In a fiction book I'm reading, it said you don't turn it. It was a mother talking to her daughter and said, "You don't turn into an adult overnight." Poof, and it really brought a visual to me that we have these lines of, children are allowed to be inquisitive and ask questions, and they should be learning. And then when does it happen that we think there's this like line in the sand that you become an adult and you know everything and you just stay the way you are? No, we should be, we need to get rid of these labels, because we should be inquisitive and learning all our lives. And I love what
Continually.
you said about delegating, because when you look at that calendar and things are about to overflow, you have a choice. You have a choice to, one, you could say no, which I know that makes a lot of people really
That's a
uncomfortable.
choice.
That's a
Very valid choice.
very valid choice. No is a complete sentence. You could delegate to someone on your team. You could swap something else out. If this new event, thing, meeting, time block, whatever it is really important to what you want to do, to your top goals, maybe you swap it out with something else on the calendar. Don't give up the things that are important. You never give up an important task. Like if physical health is a big thing and you have finally put in your calendar appointments with yourself to go do the things, don't trade the good stuff. Trade things like maybe you have an extra long lunch hour in there you could trade, or maybe you start a little bit early a couple of days so you can get this thing in there. But always keep it in balance. But there's lots of options, and it's just, it's all able to be done. But no is a complete sentence. Delegate is a real option, or shifting things around. Just knowing what's really important to you.
Right. And sometimes with our goals, I know evaluating a few months in, maybe I really, really wanted to do something at the very beginning of the year, and I wanted it done by, in 6 months. Life does happen, and it is okay to shift our goals and shift focus. Or I know that with our SMART goals that we've learned that acronym all the time, that there's that timepiece. You better have a deadline on it or it won't happen. And I do believe in deadlines, but it is okay. You don't beat yourself up if you miss the goal. If you didn't work for it and didn't have that commitment and didn't try to rearrange your time to utilize and prioritize and utilize the law of 100%, then you wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And that, I love what you just said. No is a complete sentence. I will put that on a post-it and put it right here, or I will have it as my screensaver on my phone. Fran says no is a complete sentence. Remember that. But yeah, and we just need to, it's okay to say no. And sometimes it's okay to rearrange, to delay. And I think that you made a perfect point. We'll kind of close with this. Sometimes delaying is a blessing, because when you delay, things and priorities alter, and it's not important anymore. You had an example fairly recently in a project that you were doing, right?
Yeah, so we had a goal to get something done by a certain date, and everything went wrong that day, Gayla. Everything. My hot water heater went at home. My dog got sick. Like, it was one thing after another. So we did not meet the deadline, and these were deadlines we set. It wasn't a critical deadline that a client or a project requires. This was something I wanted to complete this work by this day, blah, 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 because what was going to happen after. Everything went wrong that day. And I just took a breath and said, okay, I'm the one who's always saying everything happens for a reason. These are important things I have to deal with at home and important things I have to deal with in my life. So I'm just going to deal with them. Well, I come into work the next day and find out that everything I would have done the day before was no longer needed because something had changed in the project. And I thought, wow, if that is life not watching out for me, I think. So, sometimes whether it's a delay or something changes or something's going wrong, because perspective always happens in hindsight, right? It doesn't happen in the moment that you need it. Go with it, go with the flow. And I have this saying I teach my team: if we can, we will. If we can't, we'll adapt and flow. And that day I just said, okay, I'm going to believe in my own words and my own advice, and I'm going to just go with the flow. And the next day I came in to find out that I would have wasted a whole day. So
that is so good, because with the law of 100%, you could not get around.
No, I could not get around my hot water heater deciding not to work that day, and everything else that went on. And it was just one of those, that was even another one of those moments where I realized everything still survived and happened, and you get through it. And every night you end your day with saying something that you did well that day. And that particular day, the best thing I did was just get out of bed.
And that is perfectly okay.
That was
And I
perfectly
love that
okay.
reminder. I love that reminder. Well, guys, this has been, Fran, I'm so glad that we came together, talked about love 100%. And everybody, I would love to hear from you guys. Let's continue the conversation. Hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway from today's show was in the Live Full Work Fun Facebook group. It's there. It's a private group. You can say things and, anybody can join, but I encourage you to join the Facebook group, hop in there. And do you have tough time saying no? And are you following the law of, or are you realizing the law of 100% is what it is? We all have to follow it, right? So I so enjoyed today. Thanks so much, Fran.
Thanks, Gayla. Today was great.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, have a fantastic week. We always want you to remember to live full and work fun. This episode has been brought to you by Scrivener Social, the easy-to-use social scheduling platform built for the busy solopreneur. You deserve a system that makes posting to your social media faster and more efficient. Go to scrivenersocial.com and subscribe today.